Hey guys, it's Hidden Gems here, back again. Now, I'm here to talk to you about one of my favorite franchises that's having a big release today, Halo. As you can see, I'm a pretty big fan of Halo. I got most of the books, and today is the release date of Halo Infinite. I was hoping to have a physical copy to show for you, but all the stores around me for some reason, aren't stocking it, so I'm gonna have to get the digital version. But I at least got this cool little magazine from Walmart for free. But today we're going to talk about a story that is, from what I've gathered, is not very popular, but I actually didn't think it was that bad. So in Halo, after Bungie left the franchise, 343 took over, which a lot of people have mixed opinions on them. I really don't have any major issues with them. Their games, I'm not gonna lie and say their games aren't quite as good as the Bungie games, but I do appreciate how they treat the lore, because Bungie was very wishy-washy on the canon of the books. They really, if anything, actually, from what I understand, they really did not care for any of the expanded universe material. They didn't like, they just, they didn't flat out say it wasn't canon, but they really downplayed the importance of the books and the comics and etc. Which I was not. That was probably the only thing I really didn't like about Bungie. 343, on the other hand, when they took over, they flat out, one of the first things they said is that the book, everything's canon. The books are canon. The comics, everything is on even footing, according to them, which I really appreciate that. And if you and I think that's why, sadly, I think why Halo 4 and 5 both kind of have been crapped on a lot, because if you read the books and the comics, you understand the plots of those games much more. You get a much better grasp of the plots of those games. And I'll admit I fell into that trap a little bit, because when I played Halo 4, I'm like, who is this guy Dick? Who is this guy? I mean, what the hell is going on? If you're dropped straight into Halo in 4 and especially 5, because 5 deals with a lot of stuff from the books, but even 4 does too. You're not going to know what the heck's going on. So, I'll try to make this relatively brief. Try not to ramble on here too much. But, so when 343 took over, they commissioned Greg Bear to write these 3 books: Cryptum, Primordium, and Silentium. And now these books cover the backstory of the Forerunners. This is basically the what you want to call the foundation of. Well, figuratively and literally, it is like Isaac Asimov's foundation. It's the foundation for the Forerunners and the Primordiums and the not the Primordiums, Protheans, excuse me. Prometheans, the Protheans and the Prometheans, I think, for 2 different races. But this, I think, if I remember correctly, I think Primordium and Cryptum were both released before, especially, these were both released before Halo 4. So, especially, I would say Primordium you can maybe get away with not reading, but Cryptum is definitely important for your reading before Halo 4, because this gives you the entire backstory of. Read the whole trilogy, but it gives you the backstory of the Didact and the Protheans, the Prometheans, and the Forerunners. So I think that's something that there really shouldn't have anything. There should be a little asterisk next to Halo 4. Read Cryptum. You don't have to, but I would really recommend it if you want to really get the full experience out of Halo 4, which that turned a lot of people off, and I can understand that. I think it's I think it's great. I love when big media projects, movies and games and stuff, bring in expanded universe stuff. Star Wars was obviously fantastic about that back in the day, and I'll even give Disney a little bit of credit. They do it a little bit here and there, not quite as much, but they do a halfway decent job of that with their games. Not so much the movies, but that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, so now we're going to move on to what we're going to talk about in this video, which is Master Chief and the Composer's Abyss, which, from what I understand, this is published by Scholastic, and this is a collection of comics from what is it? Halo Escalation. Excuse me. This is basically, I mean, the whole comic is, but this book is basically Halo 4.5. This is essentially what you want to read. You want to play Halo 4, and then this is what bridges the gap between Halo 4 and 5. So anyway, so the comic begins with a quick little summary of the events of the end of Halo 4. You get the Didact, you get Master Chief kicking the Didact in that little pit thing. You get Cortana and Master Chief breaking up. And so it essentially, and then it begins 8 months later, if I recall correctly. Yeah, I mean, well, it's actually right after, and then you jump ahead to 8 months later, excuse me, and Chief meets up with Blue Team. You got Linda, Fred, and what the heck is her name? Not Sally, but anyway, Blue Team. Shoot, that's gonna drive me nuts now. Am I gonna get it or not? Kelly. Linda, Fred, and Kelly, what's left of Blue Team. Again, if you read the books, you know what I'm talking about. He meets up with them, and he ends up running into the Didact. Again, the Didact crash lands, I think, on Earth. Yeah, crash lands on Earth. So the Didact crash lands on Earth, and Blue Team is sent in to basically, capture or kill him. And he's looking for the Composer's Abyss, which is that, obviously the name of the title, but that's the, I think that's the super weapon. That's the name of the super weapon that they use in the game to destroy New Phoenix, which happened in the game, if I recall. It's been a while since I played since Halo 4, so I'm a little rusty, but if I recall correctly, that's what that is. But then they're basically, they end up in a showdown with him, and Chief starts the Chief crash lands basically they get on a Halo, they're transported to a Halo ring, and Chief basically crash lands the the part of the ring onto this thing and kills him. And now supposedly this is retconned to say that he was digitized, he wasn't killed, because there was a lot of fan backlash about killing off this big, huge, built-up character, which I agree with. I agree with that. I think that was a mistake. I think the Didact he had such a great backstory in these books. I think what it comes down to is probably the fans of the game probably didn't care. From what I gather, they didn't care for Didact because, in the game he's not really given much backstory, like a little tidbits here and there. But yeah, I don't think game fans were really a fan of him. Book fans were probably more. This is probably more book and comic fans are more irritated about this. And I do, I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame that the Didact has been. He's basically just been put on ice, even if the retcon that he wasn't killed, that he was digitized. It's pretty clear to me they're not really going to do anything with the Didact. Maybe down the road, or maybe some spin-off game or something. But it's a shame to me that the Didact was really just kind of just tossed aside like, yesterday's news. Um, so yeah, that's the end. And I mean, I already kind of gave away spoilers here, but this book this shows the end of the Didact here. I never knew this. I remember hearing that he died, and I just picked this up on a whim at a thrift store. But there's the end of the Didact right there. 3 books, 3 novels, and a bunch of other stuff worth of build up to get killed off in one panel. But anyway, but overall, really, the comic's not bad. The comic ends with Chief and Blue Team going off, into space, or into on their next mission, and just basically just taking on their own missions, which, from what I recall, that pretty much leads into Halo 5. So, and there's another little story that has nothing to do with anything, but I'm not even going to bother talking about that. But at the very end here, but yeah, I would still recommend this. I'd recommend this as this is Halo 4.5. It's essentially, this bridges the gap between 4 and 5, which for me was great because I felt like there was a pretty big disconnect between Halo 4 and 5. I mean, there is a disconnect between 3 and 4, which is remedied by reading the books, reading the Forerunner trilogy that I was talking about earlier. But I still even think with 4 and 5, that I would recommend reading this. Even let's just say, even if you're not into the books, fine. If you just want a quick something, you can easily read this in 10-15 minutes. It's a very quick read. But yeah, so I give it a thumbs up. I would say give it a shot. You find it cheap somewhere. Again, this was published by Scholastic. I would assume this was sold at book fairs and stuff. So I'm sure it's common as dirt. I think I looked on the internet and they're like, you can get them for $4. So it's easily worth the investment. Even if you don't like how they handled the Didact, I completely understand that. I'm probably in that same camp. I wasn't really happy with it either. But at least we get some kind of closure between Halo 4 and 5, because 5 goes off in a completely different direction from 4. And it's looking like Infinite's going to even go off in an even completely different direction. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. I might do more Halo stuff. I might not. This was just kind of a one-off thing. This might just be a one-off thing because I'm celebrating the release of Infinite. So, yeah, I'm gonna go play that now. I got my game fuel ready. I got my mag. So, yep. See you guys next time.